Welcome back to So Bad It's Good. You guys, I've been sick for the last couple of days, so this is my first interview back. I was supposed to do this on Monday, and it really killed me to have to push this because this is truly one of those kind of really vision board interviews for me. I was so lucky to do her podcast this week. And I'm so excited to have her on today. Now, I consider her part of the Beatles of reality show cast. And of course, I am talking about Vanderpump Rules. But she is doing so much more than that. I really highly recommend her podcast, Sex, Love, and What Else Matters, that she does with her boyfriend, Luke. And I was, like I said, honored to be on her show last week. So stop this right here and go listen to that. Then come back and listen to this. It's only an hour and 10 minutes, but go support that show. But you also know her from the James May Clothing Company. You know her from the Witches of WeHo Wine. You also will be seeing her upcoming on your screens again in E's reality television series, The GOAT. Maybe we'll see her in some form of Vanderpump Rules again because we saw her at the climactic final episode of season 10. I mean, season 10 was worse than the actual Titanic tragedy that's happening right now. But she's a pop culture lover like we all are. So I just can't wait to get into everything with her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kristen Doute. Kristen, thank you so much for being here.
Quite the intro.
Well, Kristen, I forgot your book too, by the way. I have a hard copy edition of your book that was released in 2020, I believe. You can get this on Amazon. He's Making You Crazy: How to Get the Guy, Get Even, and Get Over It. So you're an author, you know, you're in the wine biz, you're in the clothing biz, and you're in reality television, and now you're in the podcasting biz. What's been your favorite biz of all of the business?
I mean, you don't do reality TV for your health. You do it so you can have a bunch of business. Oh my God. My favorite experience was writing the book.
Yeah, like it's a good book. And the thing, like, it came out, I think, in 2020. And for a second there, I think this was even going to be made into a movie of some sort. There was even like a production deal almost in place, which I still think there's a possibility for that in the future. Would you consider writing a second book, a follow-up?
Yeah, yes, we would definitely write a second book. It was such a fast turnover that we had from the time we had written a couple of chapters to when we got a publisher to sign us to finishing the book. It all happened pretty quickly, and it was so much fun. And just the whole experience with writing with my partner, Michelle. She wrote How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which was such a really simple book, but became one of the biggest rom-coms of our time, if not the biggest rom-com of our time. So that whole experience, just writing with her and learning more about comedic timing and storytelling and taking out the excess cuss words that aren't necessarily necessary.
Fuck
but really,
that. Fuck that. Yeah. This is the Red Band Edition podcast.
Right.
We're able to curse here.
No, we definitely curse in the book, but it was such an interesting thing because we wanted the book to be in my voice, as if I were the one telling these stories in the way that I speak, but also you want it to be a good book. So I thought one of the funniest two of the things that stick out to me the most. Number one, I've read that book out loud no less than 5,000 times because that was part of our writing process was, one of us was writing, the other one had to be reading it out loud as we were writing it because we're like, nope, I don't like the way that sounds. And then toward the very end, we went through this document, the entire document, and we wrote in every single swear word we could think of to see where they were placed and was it necessary? It's like nudity in movies. Is it a cheap thrill or is it necessary?
Yeah, that's I can totally, and you come from an acting background as well. So it is interesting when you are even breaking down a script or your audition sides, you're really going through these things. And it kind of seems like it was almost like a coaching process or with your acting partner of going over the things and hitting the right beats. How weird is it for you though, that so much attention, not only in the book, but in the series, and even to this day, your podcast is even about this, is about your relationships. How you're mining your own personal trauma and tragedy, and also really funny stories for content, which is all about reality television. Yeah. Like you said earlier, though, how does that affect your psyche? Are you just a brick wall at this point?
I'm part part brick wall, but like the kind that you can like, it starts to get, maybe not brick, but it's like concrete starts to get wet and then you like chip away at it. So like you can like see through the hole of like vulnerability. So it's like a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that I think we've seen you go through so many relationships on the show, and then when you're off the show, you had another a longer term relationship, and now you're with Luke, who seems like a great guy, but it's one of those things where we're as an audience member still treating you like you're on reality television. So we look at Luke and we're like, oh, this is like season 11 of Vanderpump Rules with Luke and Kristen, even if you're not on. Do you sometimes fall into the trap of thinking about your life like a reality television series just because you're accustomed to it?
Not really. I mean, I didn't feel that way on Vanderpump. Well, in the beginning, I didn't feel that way about Vanderpump. And I think that's why we kept going. I was explaining this to Maggie Lawson. I did her podcast the other day, and we were just kind of chatting like off once we were done with the podcast. She was like, man, I wanted to ask you so much more about reality TV. And there's just so many questions because she's very not familiar with the space, right? And I said, like, well, let me paint a picture for you that like seasons 1, 2, for sure, the production, like they had an idea, right, of what Lisa told them these waiters and waitresses are like, and all the infidelity and the best friends and the fighting and whatnot. But they were like, well, we don't know where the story lies. They don't know where's this story arc going to be. What does the showrunner need to do? So they really were flies on a wall. But once they get to know us and then we understand what our job is, and it's not just to show up and kind of like shoot the shit. Like there are stories to tell and there are truths to be told. And that's the part of reality TV that can like be awesome. It's like a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
So
by the way, I love Lisa, by the way, like there's truths to be told. We've got to mine you kids stories.
The kids, I know the kids thing. He and Andy Cohen both. I'm like, he's like, oh, the Vander kids. I'm like, does Jax have to turn 50 before we're not called Vander kids anymore?
Or wait, no, or even how much did it frustrate you during the reunion? Every time DJ James Kennedy was brought up, he cheated. Oh, shit. Oh, you dropped out. Hello?
I lost you.
Okay. Sorry. I was saying how frustrating was it even during the reunion? You had DJ James Kennedy going every time he was cheating. He was like, I was 25. I was like, he's going to be doing that into his 40s. He's like, I was 42.
Yeah. Forever. Sure. But so anyway, it's like, it started life was an actual reality show, like at those, middle to end seasons. Because it was a little more of a job, but it was still life. So that being finished with it, I had like obviously a really big break, like far, far away, as we all kind of did because of the pandemic and everything. So now as of late, feeling like I could, doing Vanderpump again, doing that one scene with Ariana, like I was like, is this going to be like riding a bike? Is this going to be kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of came in at this crucial time in the series where everybody, and I asked you this last week, was that I said, is there no part of you that feels good that there has been an overwhelming kind of support of having you back here? And there was this, there was this excitement to see you again. Does that feel good? Or are you the type of person that, you're negative self-talking the entire time?
A little bit of both. Like you and I talked about the negative self-talk and the like lack of confidence. So I also like don't want to get excited as much as I do want to get excited because people on the internet, fans of reality television, change their mind very quickly.
Wait, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about at all. No, listen. I told you last week I was the biggest Mr. Sandoval fan that there. I would have. I thought the sun hung for, I was wild. And so that quickly when things changed and you got a whole different perspective and, listen, you are a famous reality show, quote unquote detective, that, we go back and we look at all these context clues that we really didn't pay attention to at the time because we were so wanting to believe the best of him. And I think that's very interesting. And it's something we seem to give male reality stars a lot more grace than we ever do female reality stars. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. I remember one season, I wish I could claim this as my own, but I won't. Producer Jerry, as everyone knows him, Jeremiah, we were doing one of my interview days, like those confessional moments, right? For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. One of our interview days, and we were discussing this exact topic, and he brought up the term empathy. Like, why does it feel that these men are getting all this sympathy, but the women absolutely are not? Does it feel like there's this empathy about them? And I was like, oh, yes, queen, like that. Yes,
Yes,
it
queen.
does feel that way, because it did feel that way when I was on Vanderpump. And we've seen, obviously, Jax is a very much changed person. He's a husband, he's a great dad, like, but I'm talking Vanderpump days, it was like, well, that's just Jax. Oh, well, Schwartz is just, he's just Schwartz. He messes up, but he's really sweet. And it's like, Tom being the extra person that he is, I mean, that's not a reason to not like Tom. And I think but even back then, when Tom and I were going through the things we were going through, it was like, well, look what she did. Of course he did that. Look at her. It was always that kind of thing. And I'm not sure why. Maybe because we had more females. Maybe the females were a little louder and more present. We didn't take the shit, as much as they did, and I just think they were forgiven a lot. Interesting.
No, I think still to this day they are. I don't think that. I mean, I don't think that has really changed that much. And as much as we tear people down, we like to build them back up. And it's like this really interesting thing that you really can see a microcosm of on reality television in general. I meant to ask this. This is going to be my first question to you in the beginning. And by the way, thank you so much for coming on here again, because I was going to ask, how sick are you of this? How sick are you of talking about this? Like obviously you are doing this amazing podcast of yourself where you talk about it. You've been guesting on, every Lala and all of these people. And I hate that we're asking the same questions, but thank you for doing this for my audience. How sick of you are you? I mean, we're just mining the same pain.
I think we're all kind of sick of just talking about Tom Sandoval, to be honest. I think that the fascination is still there because it was such like a mind exploding thing that did continue on for a bit, and we were still getting little like nuggets, little Easter eggs like here and there. But I feel like it's finally, like, the thing is, they also don't have a lot of time before they'll start filming their next season. So it's almost like it's just rolling right into, it's almost like a 24 or a 12-month, 24-hour a day series right now for them. So,
well, but I mean, for you as well, in a sense, Kristen, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. But I will say, on top of, they've had extended breaks, but they're not used to it because the brand deals are rolling in and things like that. So this has been one constant push of work where the cameras are down, but everybody is still working at a frenetic pace because, Lala has her pod, Sheena has her pod, you have your pod, Ariana, like, so you guys have not stopped. Like, this is the busiest this cast of Vanderpump Rules has been forever.
Oh, what totally. Up, Boy? Sorry. Gibson.
Oh.
You're being a Yorkshire terrorist. Gibson, can you please go lay down? He's like, Mom, it's so quiet in here. Mom's talking.
Yes, Mom, stop talking about Sandoval again, please.
He's like, no more. Gibson's sick of it. But I think the sick of it thing is that, like, there is no resolution, really.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's what makes us sick of it. There was no resolution to it. So we're all kind of going, so now what? Well, great. Ariana's happy. She's succeeding. She's flourishing. Like, that's what we all wanted. And Katie, I feel like, didn't really get enough toward the end of, especially the end of the season. It kind of like the Sandoval thing took over, but it's like, well, what about what Katie went through with Rachel and with her divorce from her husband? It was a bit overshadowed, and especially at the reunion, I wish that we could have heard a little more from Katie. But at the same time, now I feel like maybe the Sandoval is out of the way so we can finally see what is the resolution going to be, or what is the end all be all going to be in the beginning of Vanderpump season 11. We're going to see, okay, so we have technically missed them, maybe not in social media, maybe not in paparazzi photos, but on the screen for a few months. So now it's going to be, okay, well, we get to see something about her. Katie, are you dating anyone? Ariana, who are you dating? Let's talk about your dude. Let's kind of like, let's just nudge Sandoval out of the way and let's start talking about what the girls are doing for a minute.
I'm gonna ask two things about Sandoval, and then we're done. And they're more kind of like statements in a sense. No, like just the fact that Sandoval, you're right though. Like there is no resolution, so I think that's where we kind of proverbially get blue balls as an audience, because I think we're hoping that he's like, okay, I totally get it, dude. I'm so sorry. I really get it. I fuck. And he's not like this. He seems like he's upset at us, the audience, at you guys. And there seems to be almost a godlike complex that we're seeing more and more, where I'm shocked about him still on the road, and it's like, it's not even noble, because he's not doing this to cure cancer. He's out there.
Right.
It's not like he needs to do these shows because the fate of the world depends on it. That's the thing that scares me. That going into
what I'm reading and hearing is like he's doing a lot of these shows, if not all of them, for free, but he's paying his band for practicing, as he told us, paying them for the shows. So essentially, he's just losing money to keep the attention on him, because he needs that to validate himself so much. No one's asking you to quit life, dude. Okay, you didn't. You cheated. You did something really shitty. You treated your friends like shit. You involved the people in millions of homes across the world and the nation especially, and you really like burned our heartstrings. Like you hurt them, right? But like you didn't kill someone, so no one's asking you to give up on life for real. But like, how about just take a minute? How about like sit back, get off Instagram, get off the internet, don't tour with your band for a bit, maybe go home and be with your parents. Maybe just like be low key until you start filming again. Take some time to truly self-reflect. But like,
exactly.
No.
That's the thing. Like, who knows about Rachel, but like, listen, I'm not praising her at all, but at least she's stayed out of this. And at least who knows, hopefully it's true that she really is getting help, but Tom needs that help, if not more, I would think, because there seems to be a pattern of behavior. If we put you into the mix, if we put Ariana, if we put Raquel, there seems to be this history of behavior that you keep repeating. And that's what scares me as a fellow dude, where I'm like, wow, do we never face our own issues? And you, above anyone else, also knows, there are consequences to things, he's got to accept that there's consequences. Like you're not, you're not dead. But that's what the last thing I wanted to say. When I did interview him, he brought this up, and it always fascinated me. And I'm thrilled that I get to ask you about this. He brought up the time when you guys had broken up and you had to go on Watch What Happens Live, and he convinced you, I believe, to act like you weren't broken up yet on Watch What Happens Live, because it would, is that true or not, Kristen?
Did not convince me of anything. Number one, they asked that of us because that was the end of season 2. Yes, the end of season 2. And of course, we broke up at this time that like we had just gotten done filming. We weren't even up for the next season yet. We're doing press. And he was already dating Ariana. I, of course, was like, this is awesome. I still wanted to be with Tom. And I'm like, to be with me. Like I didn't say it like that, but I remember just thinking like, we get to go to New York together. We get to go to San Diego together for press. We get to go do this together. Like, I'm just going to play cool girl like I used to. And he is going to fall back in love with me. It was not his idea. We were told that we could not spill the beans. Because if you think about Vanderpump as a series, we were not, if anyone can even look back that far, when Instagram started, when social media became a thing, maybe it was like season 3, right? Something like that. We were not allowed to post during filming anything that might give away any kind of storyline. And then when social media became such this magnifying glass that you just can't escape, is when production started going, oh, we're going to use this to our advantage. Like, you guys are going to have an Instagram war, like on camera. You know, like you
Yeah,
remember
yeah, yeah,
certain
yeah.
seasons, it was like the guys are here, the girls are there. Okay, go post this to make the guys jealous or whatever. So I think production started realizing they can't escape the fact that social media is there, that fans are going to take photos, that, you know, things are going to be spilled. So they just said, well, let's lean into it. But back in season 2, that was not Tom's idea. And he was absolutely miserable that he had to pretend to be dating me still.
Well, I just didn't know if there was another thing of him potentially controlling a narrative and trying to say like, "Hey, this is what we have to do, dude," and like that kind of thing. I didn't know if he was trying like
I
back
mean,
then.
he would have loved to have just been like, we broke up. I'm with Ariana. I'm not with this chick anymore. Like, he kicked me out of our apartment. You
Yeah,
know, he
I mean,
unscrewed the
listen,
light bulbs. He stole all
you
the
had the first
silverware.
revenge dress. Well, he unscrewed the light bulbs and stole all the silverware.
When he wanted me out of the apartment, and I'm like, I'm allowed to be here till the end of December per my rent check. So if you don't want me here, go stay at Sheena. This is when he would sleep at Sheena and Shay's house. And I was like, you broke up with me. Too bad. I need time to get an apartment. And one day I came home from Sir, and the light bulbs were all unscrewed. The mattress was gone. The couch cushions were gone. The silverware was gone. All of my
Sorry.
stuff out of the dresser. It's actually funny. Out of the dresser and all of the closets was just piled up like this high on the side of my side of the bed. And I just called him and I was like, "Do you know how much more difficult you made this for me to move out? I can't. Like, you just made this 10 times harder. And I will still be here until December 31st."
Oh my god. See, that's what I mean. Like, wow, that is wild, but I can completely picture that. Um, Also, so I mean, this season you've already been through this, but you've also grown as a person, like, I mean, you're coming back off kind of a break. Like you said, everybody was on a break, but you didn't have to film a very bad season of Vanderpump Rules, and you got to watch this season unfold. And but to go back before even any of this started, you were an actor in Los Angeles. This is very, all very true. This was your friend group, Stassi, Katie, Schwartz, all of these people. I mean, I was an actor in Los Angeles around the same time. I mean, you could never have perceived, or, reality television in general. What were your favorite reality television shows back then? What were you watching back then?
So we weren't watching any reality shows. Tom and I did not have cable. So when we got Vanderpump Rules and we found out we were definitely going to be filming this show, we splurged. We got cable, that famous DVR box, and we binged all of The Hills and all of Jersey Shore, beginning to end, the entire both series, just to be like, what is it like? What do you do?
Oh my god. Oh, well, you guys crushed. I mean, you guys really crushed it. I mean, you kind of I mean, I think you guys rate way above The Hills, and I mean, in terms of continuation, now way above Jersey Shore. But yeah, well, I mean, then to like fast forward all the way to like your current dude, Luke, who, like, really nice guy, but like when you talk to him, he's like, I don't really watch Vanderpump Rules. I don't that like I just is there a part of you that's like, I would like to keep this relationship in kind of this glass lucite case that I don't ever have to permeate with a reality show bubble? And because I want to protect this, and sometimes reality television gives into our baser desires to make good content. Is there a part of you, and I'm not saying that you guys would ever come back to television, but is there a part of you that is scared about that? And is Luke scared about that?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit, but I feel like I just have my head on my shoulders like a lot straighter than before. And I think if we were to come back to reality TV again in a different capacity, like on a different show, which I've said very publicly I would love to do. Like, Luke and I have definitely had that conversation, because really in the beginning of our relationship, I said, if I ever have this opportunity again and you want to be with me, just know this is like a non-negotiable for me. So I just need you to like know that, like, see it for what it is. Because you got to think back to like the Stassi Patrick days, right? Like, Patrick, before he actually was on camera, refused, right? Refused. And it just makes your life a total living hell. And at this point in time, if I were to do television again, the producers, they know what I know and I know what they know. And it's like, if you have a boyfriend that you're wanting to be with truly forever, this isn't like some dude, he's going to have to be a part of it. So Luke is aware that if that time were to come, Yeah, he definitely has reservations. He doesn't watch reality TV at all. He doesn't know that world. LA is still fairly new to him, and he's still just trying to like get his 2 feet like anchored in the ground here because it's just not his jam. But he's, I think he'd be
Well, maybe I'm
willing.
not worried about you so much. I'm worried about Luke. What if he becomes like a bad boy? What if he's like, what if LA corrupts him and he all of a sudden he's like at the end of Grease with Sandy, like, tell me about it, stud, and
Oh
he's all
my
in
God.
leather. Like, what happens then, Kristen? What are you gonna do? You gotta like keep him like in shape.
The thing is, here, I know why he's going to be safe. I took him to Zara at the Glendale Mall, and I said, let's try to find like your like fits your style. And he walked in, and he was like, not a chance in hell. And we got matching sneakers. So I was like, okay.
Kristen, we
Good
need
for
to get
right
him into
now.
we need to get him into a chunky sweater ASAP. We need to get a tight, chunky sweater on that guy. Starts wearing like shirtless and just chunky sweaters. I'm joking around, and I
Wearing
know
like if no, but if he stops wearing, those like blue and green like like sunglasses like fishermen and like golfers like Midwest dudes wear, if he stops wearing those, I'll raise concern. Right now
he gets
he's still
he
doing
comes.
polo shirts. He's okay.
Luke all of a sudden is like, I want you to use my diff eyewear code. You're like, oh wait, Luke, please. Okay. We talked about this last week. You love Daily Mail. Like I love Daily Mail. Like we're just constantly on it. But is there any kind of, like you are a part of pop culture in the sense that, I would consistently see you in the Daily Mail, or I will probably consistently see you to come, that separation for you. How do you view yourself in terms of a pop culture figure? Because before I met you as a person, you are a pop culture figure to me. Like I thought talking to you would be like Chris Farley in that sketch with Paul McCartney of like, do you remember that one time where you wore the revenge dress? Like that was awesome. Like now that I kind of know you a little bit, it's becoming, you're a real person. Are you able to separate pop culture as we see it, the fans, and your actual life, if that makes sense?
I mean, I just see myself as the exact same person that I was. And I think even that break that I had probably like grounded me a bit more, which was really nice. So like I don't see myself as a pop culture like anything. Like I get it. I get the show is like a massive hit and I understand, but I just feel like me.
Well,
Like I have so many different groups of friends and like it's even with my Vanderpump friends, it's like Brock's birthday was not that long ago and Sheena was like, oh, I want to do a surprise birthday at Universal. And we were all just us, like in our athleisure and in our sweats and just being normal and not, I don't know, it just to me, I don't feel any differently. I mean, luckier, like for sure, more fortunate, but not any different.
dude, Sheena is like Sheena has not stopped going out for 10 years now. Like the girl, I mean, nothing like the
Dude,
kid didn't slow her. She'll bring the kid with. I mean, like, Summer Moon, like, by the way, amazing parent. But at the same time, I'll look at Sheena's social media and I will get exhausted because
same.
you really feel she wants to be there. Like she loves it.
Oh
She
yeah.
loves it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And she, like the fact that she can handle it. She and I talked about this not that long ago when she was doing her Vegas shows, right? That she was doing that show, the
Yeah.
sex show.
Uh,
And she and I weren't like really tight around that time, but I remember being like, did she just go from LA to Vegas to like San Diego like in the same day? Or like Palm Springs to whatever. And now with a baby and a husband and a successful show and a successful podcast, and she's still doing the same thing. She's like, oh, we're going to Disney tomorrow. Then we have to go to here. And then we're going to the Palm Springs house for like 2 days. But then I'll be back in Marina. But then we have to go to San Diego to see Brock sing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? I'm like, I schedule my days like, do I have to go over the hill to like West Hollywood?
yeah, like get out of bed maybe this time and
Yeah,
then
like
maybe shower. I don't know.
friends in West Hollywood are like, do you want to hang out? And I'm like, let me see if I have errands to run. And I will hit you up that day.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about Sheena at all,
No, she has
but like,
nonstop energy. Like I bow down.
no, but I was thinking about in terms of a season 11 that we know is going to happen. Like people were like, well, the show is so famous right now. The show is so successful again. And, I imagine if you go out in public, you are probably approached many times over now. And you probably always have been, but I think there's a white hot heat on all of you guys right now. that my friend Kiki was like, hey, how are they going to film this when, you go out, they're probably going to get mobbed. But part of me was like, maybe that's the fascinating aspect of this, is to see what this spotlight, how it changes people again. Like, is there this, in my weird meta head, I was like, is there a way that we've seen it change Sandoval, but like, what if we see it change one of the other cast members? What if somebody gets too big for their britches because of so many brand deals or fighting over the same brand deal? Is there a world in which you think production would ever focus on this stuff of the meta behind the scenes stuff?
I do. I think so. I think they like crept into that this past season on Vanderpump Rules. They finally started breaking the fourth wall. I mean, I remember like in seasons past, the first time we got to hear Jeremiah's voice like talking, I was like, yes, finally. Oh, okay, we're inching our way, right? And I think in my opinion, the Kardashians really opened that door for other shows to do the same, especially Vanderpump Rules, because Vanderpump has been such an ensemble cast, which has fairly been the same with additions, right? And although the Kardashians are clearly a family, but I think when they moved to the Kardashians to Hulu, and they were very much like, we can't do this bullshit anymore. We have to break the fourth wall completely, like shatter it. And I find it so much more compelling and so much more interesting. And I think that Vanderpump's finally like leaning into that as well, instead of trying to push back from it.
Have you ever met any of the Kardashians?
Chloe. I've met Chloe a couple times. Oh,
was it like amazing. A poker tournament or something, or was that?
No, Stassi and I went to. She had Becca Cosmetics, which isn't even a company anymore. But Chloe and who was it? Chloe and somebody had like their own like palette or something like that.
Yeah.
So they had a party. So Stassi and I went with Jared. And Chloe walked right up to us and she was like, oh my God, I love you guys. And we're like, what? I love you. I love you. I have like so many photos from that. I'm like, best friends forever.
Oh my God, you got to repost those photos. I want to see those photos.
In the past, yeah. And I've definitely like DM'd with Chloe. She's super sweet. I sent her my book. I've sent her things before. Like she gave me like an address and, but she could not be more kind. But that is it. I've seen like Kylie and Chris at like upfronts in the past. Because we were all in NBCU, but all like, out of arm's reach.
Well, we had a little bit of a disagreement last week on your show about the Kardashians, because you're saying you're giving them credit. And for me, I think if you want to give them credit, then I think Vanderpump completely smashed that ceiling, has completely walked in, and is so much more entertaining from an audience perspective. And maybe it's just because of the level of success that the Kardashians are at. But you were truly like, oh, I love this season. I watch every episode. I'm really enthralled with it. And for me, I don't know if this is from a male perspective, and that's potentially why, but it's like, they're so huge. They're all billionaires that there still seems to be a false reality, even when they're trying to present their reality, that there feels like there's this glass up. It's like how Lisa Vanderpump is shot through like Vaseline lens. I feel like that's like the Kardashians for me.
Well, yeah, I'm already tired of the Dolce and Gabbana narrative. Like, okay, we get it. He did. Courtney,
yeah, Kim knows how to pick. Kim knows how to pick her own clothes. You guys, it finally happened. Yeah.
Like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
But I still find others. Yeah, Kim's stuff I don't find very intriguing right now. But as I said, when you and I talked last, like I'm a huge Kravis fan right now.
What did you think about the pregnancy announcement? What did you think about the pregnancy announcement?
It really wasn't like an actual pregnancy announcement, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant because she took a little from All the Small Things video, and I was like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, I mean, Friday night, this was announced. I was, of course, on my phone, as I do 24/7, and I saw this and was able to post it. And I was genuinely really happy, because if you watch the show, you guys, and you see this in public, they're literally having sex every hour on the hour. It doesn't matter if they're in private or not. And so, like, she was off IVF and this happened. So I was like genuinely happy. And it's very interesting. I posted something that I thought would be genuinely a happy post. And it wasn't joking. I wasn't doing one of my sarcastic posts. And immediately it was like a lot of happiness, but immediately like, this is so gross. How dare this person? Oh, it's so fake. And I was like, wait a sec. Yeah, I mean, it's fake, but also there's this thing of them sharing it with the audience as well, because
Right.
we're a part of their lives, whether they like it or not. So they're letting
Right.
us know as well. I mean, did you perceive it to be that way as well?
I no, I just thought it was like, here's our public announcement. And what a
Yeah.
cuter, more fun way to do it. And if you can see in the audience, like Penelope's there, her daughter, and then I saw like one of his daughters, like in just kind of in the area. Cause of course, when I like zoomed in on the photo, I was like, where is security? Why are there so many people around her? And then I realized it's like her camp. So I'm like, okay, good. I have concerns for the child. I have concerns for Courtney's safety. But I thought it was like so just fun. And maybe, maybe it was also for them. Maybe she thought like this would, maybe Travis didn't know she was going to do that at the show. We don't
Yeah.
know if Travis
Yeah.
knew she was going to do that at the show.
Oh my God. I want to see,
It was
I
so
want to see Courtney
adorable.
do the marker. I want to see if
There's a
somebody else
photo
made the
of it.
sign. Yeah. I like Courtney. Like, I
Photo
hope
that Stephanie
Mason.
took of
Oh,
Courtney
really?
doing it. Yeah.
Steph Chef. I didn't see
Steph
that.
Shep took a photo of Courtney sitting on the concrete, like it was already outlined, and she was like filling it in. And I mean, it doesn't look like it was done by a professional. Come on.
By the way, they paid $1 million for that sign. It was like Damien Hirst made this. No, I think it's very interesting though, our reaction to that. And this is, involving Vanderpump Rules, and we are so quick, it's like, myself included, we will tear a moment apart. We will take everything good out of it. We'll suck the marrow from it and we'll make it bad. And if something bad, we'll make it good. It's very interesting. And I don't know where we go from here. As a student of pop culture, even taking away Vanderpump Rules, where do you think we go from here?
With Vanderpump, you mean?
No, with pop culture in general, in terms of the social media, the audiences, we are so frenetic and we are so frantic. We really sometimes ruin things.
Yeah, that's true. But I think, I mean, and I will say, I don't comment or like make fun of people publicly ever. It's just like not my vibe. But I think the tough thing with reality television is that there's not a lot out there that is legit, that you're actually watching people's lives, like a docu-series. Like, yes, the Kardashians are considered a docu-series, but they are all executive producers. Vanderpump, I think, stands out as something that is not produced by any of them or us when I was on it. We have nothing, we don't get a say of what's on the cutting room floor. And I think it's a very authentic show. And I only get frustrated with that because reality television is so popular right now, and it has been, that I feel like networks, production companies are just reaching like, what's the next big Vanderpump Rules?
Yeah.
What's the next big Kardashians? It's like, but you can't force something like that. You have to find the diamond in the rough. Not to say there's not another thing out there, but you can't cast it. You can't force it.
But that's what I'm saying. You guys were magic in that sense, is that you could never replicate that. We were talking about last week, that initial scribbling of like, this person dates this person is broken up with this person. That to me is magic. It's so rudimentary if you look at that picture, and you guys were able to create magic out of this real moment in your lives that we all felt as well, because we were going through real moment in our lives. And to watch you guys get successful through that, and watch the ups and downs, and to see where each one of you guys are now. That's why I compare it to, the Beatles in a sense. And I know people might laugh at that, but think about that. Like, when the Beatles broke up as well, everybody went their own ways, but they were only truly powerful together in a certain way. Everybody loves George Harrison's music to this day. They all had amazing things, but together there was this weird magic. And I hate that the weird magic for you guys is when somebody fucking cheats on a 9-year relationship and you're like, Wonder Team, activate,
Yeah, we're the Fleetwood Mac of reality television.
Yeah. By the way, wait, what's your favorite Fleetwood Mac song, by the way?
That is so unfair. I can't even. It depends on the day. I will say, in this current moment, in maybe the last couple of months, I dipped back to the Dreams and Go Your Own Way rebuttal story.
Yeah.
I think it's just very like now, like he wrote Go Your Own Way, and so she was like, okay, well, I'll write Dreams.
Dude, you guys, there's a book on the making of Rumors, and it is one of the, if there would ever, and I guess Daisy Jones and the Six is kind of trying to do that, but I would love I would love a full documentary on the making of Rumors, because you talk, I mean, it is like Vanderpump Rules in a sense. I mean, they were all
they fuck, they
crisscrossing and stuff.
fight, and they're still family at the end of the day.
What's the hardest you've ever cried? What's the hardest you've ever cried at a Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks song? Sorry, personal question.
Silver Springs in concert.
Right? Yes.
Front row, like arm on the stage. I got to take the set list. I framed it. I gave it to my mom. Mick signed it. And yeah, and Christine McVie, Rest in Paradise. This was all 5 of them playing on this tour. And when Christine McVie did Silver Springs, I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Wait, was that the one
and
at the
Landslide.
Forum? Was that at the Forum?
It was like in 2015, 2016, something like that.
I think tour. It was at that show, but like I remember because Christine McVie came back with the band, and at the very end, Stevie was like, "I told Christine, you're not ready to tour. Like you got to be in shape," and she kind of nagged Christine McVie a little bit. But I will say, I saw her do that co-headlining tour with Billy Joel a couple months ago, and I got to tell you, Stevie Nicks. Like I was like, "Oh, this is an easy layup for Billy Joel." Yeah. Stevie Nicks stole it away from Billy Joel. Like, I mean, 2 legends, and she did the end Landslide, and it was the first show back since Christine McVie had passed. And she lost it. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment that I will never forget. But you forget what a deep catalog, not only with Fleetwood Mac, but Stevie Nicks has in general, that just blows your mind. Just blows your mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sorry. I know we went on a little tangent there. You can't really talk about this, but the E show, The GOAT, which is actually...
Freebie. Oh, it's on Freebie.
Oh, Freebie. Sorry, Amazon Freebie. I'll change that. Amazon Freebie, which, by the way, they have Jury Duty, which is one of my favorite shows this year. So it is a great place to be right now. But you guys have, it's like greatest of all time. And you do have like an insane cast because you have Jill Zarin. I mean, right then and there, you're in. You got Tasha
Adams. The first person
Adams
that I made eye contact with when I walked into that mansion. The first person I saw was Tech because he's so tall.
Real World.
Tech Money. Yeah, Real World, 1999 Hawaii. I mean, that is a fucking legend right there.
Amaya and Colin. Oh my God.
I immediately saw Jill Zarin and Reza, and I was like, oh God, I'm home. Oh, thank God.
Was that a good experience? You didn't have to go to Mars like Schwartz did. Was it a good experience?
It was amazing. I mean, the entire cast, amazing. I knew of almost every single person. Obviously, it was so wild. I remember after like our full day 1, like we were in day 2, and we were like, how long have we been here? They're like, 1 day. It's only been a day. We felt like we were there for a week after day 1, because you're living in a house with all of these people, and there's so much going on, and you're filming for so many hours. And then you have your downtime, and it just feels like multiple days exist within 1 day. But it was a blast. Everyone was so much fun. It was something very new and weird for me to do a competition series. I had no idea what to expect. And I've said this before, like on other podcasts, but one of my favorite things about doing that truly at the end of it all was the acknowledgement, the respect that I felt from the producers, that we all did. I mean, they made it a point to really say, like, you guys were all chosen for a reason, and we all trust that you're great producers too, and you know how to make a great show, and like, this is going to be amazing.
Was there trepidation to go back to any form of reality television?
No, a little bit to do a competition show, because I'm not a competition show watching person unless you count like The Voice. America's Got Talent.
By the way,
I do watch Survivor now, because one of my new friends on the GOAT, he won Survivor his season. So I was like, okay, I gotta watch this. That's really cool.
Wait, did you watch this season of Survivor?
I have not yet. I started back so I can I started back to Wendell's season. I think it was season 34 or 36, and he won.
Yeah.
So we immediately were like, wait, you won? So you're like rich? You're a millionaire? You won $1 million? Like, wait, what?
He's like, let me tell you about taxes. Yeah. Okay, so it was a great experience overall. It was good.
The Big Brother people, and just seeing how they work and those, how they shine in those types of reality shows compared to Jill Zarin, Reza did Traders, but like let's just say Jill Zarin and I and like Paola Mayfield, who was on 90 Day Fiance, we're like we didn't compete for anything, and what the hell is going on? And like my friends and I, like we kick each other out all the time, but like we're still friends and we get to come home. So you're saying when I get eliminated, if I get eliminated, I have to like go home? I don't get it.
Do we have any idea when that's going to come out? Are you even allowed to say?
I have an idea. I'm not allowed to say, but I think they'll be making an announcement fairly shortly. It won't be too long because I was shocked. Stars on Mars aired as fast as it did.
Yeah, they really turned that around so quickly. Well, and now the writer's strike is in full bloom, and this is another place where I really want the writer's strike to be resolved. I'm fully in support of the writers, but reality television, this is where another thing you are going to see an influx of so many different reality television series coming. I thought the Stars on Mars, I was like, save that for the strike. That seems like a strike concept because it's so wacky, but like you're going to see so many other reality television series. And I do think, you are going to be a part of that. And I know I don't want to bust, like who knows what's going to happen, but coming back to Watch What Happens Live after you had filmed that scene with Ariana, first off, I want everybody to know, and she's said this, and Ariana said this, that was on full approval of Ariana. That wasn't Kristen just like jumping in, like you had full approval of that. That day was fine, but then going on Watch What Happens Live after the season had aired, and to remind everybody, that was one of the highest rated Watch What Happens Lives of the Sandoval season. What was that experience like going back, seeing Andy Cohen, audience reaction? And I loved like during that half hour, like you were standing up for yourself, you weren't taking shit. What was that experience like?
It was pretty wild. I was a little hesitant when they asked because I'm like, what? No, what do I have to say? Like, and it wasn't on the episode that I was on. So it was just a little nerve-wracking because I don't know how to be anyone but myself. I don't know how to be anything other than brutally honest. And so I'm like, well, what if I'm living in this Kristen La La Land world with all my friends going, I'm going to go on here and stick to my brutal honesty and, cut the bullshit. And what if that does not resonate with people? What if what I'm reading on social media, all this fanfare and all of this, for me is just what I'm reading on my social media. And I sit here and go on this live television talk show and kind of get my ass handed to me. So I was really nervous about it. But the experience was exactly how I remember it.
Yeah, it was good. And what did Andy say to you behind the scenes? Like, I don't know how that person, I can't imagine what he has to do and how he has to play, like it's a very interesting dynamic of having to like all these moving parts, but in between like breaks and segments, what does he say to you? I mean, is he talking about like, I remember when you were here 10 years ago? Like, what is he saying?
No, I mean, we kind of had that quick talk, like right when I first walked out, like, or before I even came out, and he was like, I can't believe you're back. Like, this is so great. And when we walked out together and we're both wearing the orange, and he was like, did you guys plan this? Like, what's happening here? But I feel like I have this curse on Watch What Happens Live because every time that I've been there in the past would be dry January. So Andy wouldn't be drinking and he just like wasn't as much fun, or like not much fun, but he like wasn't as engaged and kind of thinking about other things. And then this time around, when we went to do the after show, he was like, you guys, I'm so sorry, but I have to wrap this up really fast because I'm getting on a flight to Miami like right now. Yeah. And I'm like, can I just have, I mean, I did get to do a shot ski. That was my first time on the show doing a shot ski, but can I just have a moment where you're not rushing around? Hello. It was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, and the audience reaction was like insanely positive. So I think that's huge. How do you then transfer this over? Because you have the podcast. You started the podcast before Sandoval, just to remind everybody. The podcast is growing and growing and growing. And my big question, to you even last week was, you already were doing this. You were talking about relationships. You were talking, and you of course would dip into, Vanderpump stories because it is your life. But now, people want to hear, oh my God, we need every moment. We need you to mine every memory. And you're like, hey, listen, I want to talk about all this other stuff too. And you do it with your boyfriend, Luke. How are you going to manage post Sandoval? Like, where are we headed with the podcast? And are you continually excited to have that forum?
Definitely, we love doing the podcast. It's so much fun. We both love talking about relationships. I always have, clearly, sex. I love the psychology. I want to hear from everybody, from just regular people that are going through things, as well as therapists and professionals. But as far as when we added that recap segment, obviously that really had people stoked, and that is all over now. So we're listening, we're reading emails, we are reading DMs, and what it appears that the people want is that the people want us to start recapping from season 1.
Yeah. That's what I would figure.
I think that we will try to take a dive into that world, and it is a world that I swear to God I was never going to allow Luke into, was watching old seasons. But Luke looks at it as a job. He's like, it's a job. Like, it's just, he's like, I don't watch reality TV anyway. I'll watch whatever and I'll comment on it and the way that I see it. So we're going to give that a try. There are some moments that I'm going to just skip right past. I think are kind of unnecessary. So I don't know exactly what this is going to look like. This is going to be like our first go at it. But I think I want to talk about like the stuff that people don't know, the stuff that you didn't see, or like the little insider scoop kind of a thing, as well as reflect back on some really fun moments too. It's like a yearbook, like a video yearbook of my life.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it truly,
we're
it
gonna give it a
truly
shot.
is. Well, I mean, the behind the scenes stuff is completely fascinating, but may I suggest, and you probably have already thought about this, is why can't you bring that relationship psychology and all that stuff aspect to these episodes? And also what would be fascinating of what you thought at the time and what you think now, because we do grow as people, right? Like, do you go to therapy? Are you,
yeah.
right?
It's almost 9 years with my therapist.
I mean,
my longest relationship ever.
He's like, she or he is like, are you going to break up with me? Are we good? Like, what is it? I mean, that's actually, but like from that perspective, I think mining the past can be healthy, and it would be interesting from that angle that you already talk about. Like, that's a no brainer. Like, I feel like you can do the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be really easy because I lived it and I'm so far past it now. I think it's going to be more like a wow factor and a shock factor to me, going, oh my God, like, what did we do? What did I wear? What is happening right now? It'll be like, I think it's very comical on my end. And I don't know about Luke. I don't know. We'll see. He's yet to see one early episode. So
do you got about 15 more minutes, Kristen?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask one more pop culture question, and then we'll end with some Vanderpump Rules stuff. In terms of what are you watching right now, non-Vanderpump Rules related? I know you're a fan of the show on Max, Undercover Underage, which we both know Rue Powell. She's on the show a couple of times, and I so love her. And you, I mean, it's hard to say you enjoy that show because it's such a deep, painful, powerful show. But I know you watch that.
I think it's an important show. I think it's a really important show. I actually just watched this past, I missed it on Monday, and I watched it last night, and I was really mind blown about like the quickness of these takedowns and like how she explained. I mean, I won't, drag this on too much, but just if you guys haven't seen Undercover Underage, it's a phenomenal show, really highlighting how unfortunately scary and easy it is for minors to be contacted, sexually exploited, and possibly worse by, people above the age. And it's pretty disgusting. But in this past episode, it was like 2 of the episode, and it was about how many hours into even speaking to this adult contacting minors, they call it ACM, that they already had a takedown. And Rue explained that it's not months and months that these children have to be groomed, but sometimes it's within, I think it was like within 8 minutes. And I just think it's something, it's shitty that it's entertaining in a way. What's entertaining about it is like the Rue aspect and the back end aspect. You get to see the researchers and the people that are like doing all the stuff that I love. Detective Doute loves to do is like take that person down. And that's what I was
kind of thinking when I saw that I was like, there is this part of me that I was like, God, she would kind of be made for a show like this, where guys, it's a mixture. I've had her on, but like To Catch a Predator mixed with like Criminal Minds. Like it's
and
this
like
really, Yeah, it's very, and it's really, the second season's really even better than the first season. But yeah, I was kept thinking, I was like, wow, Doute, like this seems like she would be like made for a show, not this show in
Well, it's
particular, but something like
just
this. Like,
a social cause. Like I'm a justice warrior for a cause. And so when I got to know Rue and we became friends, and I found out about SOSA, which is her, nonprofit, I immediately was like, okay, well, Witches of WeHo Wine gives portion of our proceeds to charity. And I'm like, we're going to switch to SOSA. Like, I hope that the show gets a third season and I will do whatever I can do in my power as a friend of Rue's and as a fan of the show and as someone I think deserves this platform, to like grow as much as they can. So I hope everyone really watches it. It's crazy.
well, I mean, and this is not this idea, but like, is there ever been a consideration in terms of where you go in the future of like producing your own show like this? Not in terms of child predators, but in terms
Right.
of the Detective Doty of it all.
Oh, I would love it.
Like, I mean, think about it, of like, cheating exes. Like, remember
Yeah.
that old show Cheaters? What,
Cheaters.
like you host Cheaters, and like, I mean, I could see it so clearly in my mind. And you seem like you're at this place where you're in a state of being open to whatever possibilities are out there. What's your number one dream right now in terms of possibilities?
Would be he's making you crazy into a series,
Yeah.
a book into a series. That's like
Yeah.
that's the top of my totem pole. Like what we wanted to do 3 years ago, and I think that we can still do it. I think what the beauty of a book is that a book lives forever. So, Michelle
Yeah.
wrote How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's a stick figure, like adult children's book, basically, that was written in 1998. The idea was just so interesting that they adapted it into this giant film. So
Yeah.
has always been when we wrote the book. That is why we wrote the book, because we saw it as a series.
Yeah. What else are you watching right now?
Naked and Afraid. I think I've seen every single episode of every. I've watched XL, Savage. I've seen all the Naked and Afraids. I watch them before bed mostly, but I can't get into the Naked and Afraid of Love. I turned it on for like 5 minutes, and I was like, no.
Wait, do you do any 90 Day Fiance?
I only did season one.
Okay.
I mean, I've done seasons since then, but I haven't gone back to it. I've gone back to season one as well as Love Is Blind season one because of the friends I made on the goat. I was like, I want to watch all of your shows. It's happening.
Do you watch any scripted television?
Yes, I just finished Based on a True Story with Kaylee
Oh
Cuoco.
yeah. I heard that was really good.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal. And then yes, of course, Jury Duty. We already finished, and I can't wait to see how they're gonna do another season of that.
I think there's
Lee
a way.
Eisenberg.
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupinski, I believe, the two guys that are like wrote a lot of the like amazing episodes of The Office, they're behind that series as well. And I also think you could actually.
So I know Lee because
he's my I didn't realize they were
the
goat. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I met him. He came on set for the goat maybe like for 2 or 3 days and said like, oh, my wife's a big fan of Vanderpump. And her name's Emily, who's now a friend of mine. She writes for Vanity Fair. And he was like, can we FaceTime her really quickly? And then, I don't know, shortly thereafter, the goat was wrapped. Luke and I had dinner with them. And then he told us about Jury Duty. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
That's insane. I didn't realize they were behind that show, which adds like another like that show's going to be amazing because those two guys, he's amazing. That's really incredible. Okay. Finish up with Vanderpump Rules, which thank you for, humoring me here. Everybody wants to know, and you've covered this already, but if you could do it for Maya show, where are you with Katie right now? How are you and Katie Maloney?
I was actually at Katie's apartment yesterday. She lives down the hall. And we were trying some new red wines because we're going to bring out our potion number 3 for Witches of WeHo. So we got some red wine sent to us to give a try and choose our bottle and choose our logo and all of the info, all the cool stuff on the back. So I was at her place yesterday for like a few hours
Dude,
with the dogs
and
hanging out.
I know I know what a sad, year and a half, like what she's gone through, but like, doesn't she look incredible? Like she looks
amazing.
incredible.
And her new like Natalie Imbruglia haircut. Oh my God. God. And I'm actually, after we're done here, I'm going to something about her to see it for the first time.
Are you real? Are you see that? What if I mean, like that'd be horrible for me to be around Brett all the time. Like I would hate that. I mean, like it truly is like that, like blessing and a curse. Okay, so you and Katie are great. You and Katie are good. It'll be, where are you and Schwartz? Because you've always even said like you've stood up for Schwartz plenty of times. I do sometimes feel like he's like, that puppy dog, and sometimes he abuses that. He depends on that. But you have all of these amazing memories with Schwartz. Where are you with him right now? And are you excited to see his future, or are you worried about him?
I'm a little worried, but I'm excited. I think if Schwartz just needs to I love him. I love him to pieces. He and I have been fine, been great. I haven't seen him in a minute. Obviously, he was in Australia for a while. We still text a lot. Luke golfs with him on occasion. But moving forward, I just want Tom to stick to something. Stand up for yourself. Stick to what you believe in. Like you don't have to be an asshole to have values and morals and beliefs that you like. Don't be a doormat, because when you're a doormat for some people, you end up being an asshole to others.
Oh, that's really, I like that. I mean, but yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
It's like if you stand for nothing, you're going to fall for anything. It's also that, so you end up looking like a total douchebag all because you didn't stand up for what you believe in.
Okay. I love that, actually. So it'd also be interesting what his relationship with Sandoval going forward, because they are a brand. Like, Sandoval loves his brands. They're a brand. Yeah. So it'll be, when a brand breaks up or a brand continues, it'll be interesting. Season 11 is the season of brands. Where are you with Lala right now? She did your podcast. You've done hers.
Yeah. Well, really quick with Schwartz, but I think the most powerful thing that could happen right now is in season 11 is that if Schwartz just says, I'm tired of your shit, I've put my everything into this bar truly, and you are now going to take a seat and you're going to let me be the number one Tom for a minute.
Yeah. Anyway. But see, that would be great. We see Katie step into her power. It would be nice to see Schwartz step into his and see who because I will say, even from talking to all of you guys, you all say really positive things about Schwartz. But at the same time, it's one of those things, the old adage of who you surround yourself with, you are going to get blowback. And of course, Ariana's not going to not want to talk to him for a while. Of course,
Yeah.
You are a piece of that. You're an accessory to the crime. Where are you with Lala? I know you guys do each other's podcasts.
Yeah, Lala and I are great. She has her house in Palm Springs, so she's kind of gone a lot. Just saw her and her whole family. We all went to the Universal thing for Rock's birthday. So that's always so fun, and I can't wait to spend more time with her this summer. Same with Sheena.
With Sheena, okay, this is the bad one. DJ James Kennedy. This is no. Yeah, exactly. Who? Listen, Kristen. The only reason I'm asking is that I want this to be on season 11. They always use a podcast, and somebody said something so insane that they bring it up on the podcast. I'm joking.
It's the fucking empathy that we talked about in the very beginning. The empathy is so disgustingly strong that they're now saying James Kennedy's the number one guy in the group because he wasn't that big of an asshole this season.
Well, but that's what I said.
Kind of funny. He's kind of funny, so he's not a total piece of shit. Come on.
Well, okay, listen.
How about there are no number one guys and all the girls are doing a kick-ass job?
I mean, I completely agree, but that is the funny thing to my point earlier too, is that, well, two things can be true at once. Just because Tom Sandoval's a bad guy doesn't mean DJ James Kennedy has to be a hero. I said, if you look at the history of the show, and that's really what we can judge, you can judge in a different context, but we have, you've seen time and time again. So what I kept warning the audience in my recaps, I said, he's very funny. He's very quick, but it really, the goodwill we have for him, it's really up to him to ruin it again, because all of his patterns that we've seen in the past, if we're to judge Sandoval or Schwartz or Jax or anybody, those things are going to come back to haunt him potentially as well if he doesn't kind of change his ways. That's just I don't know him. This is from an outsider's perspective. You have that different perspective.
I'll speak as a viewer for a hot second, but if you do look at his pattern of things, he has been horrific to not just the guys, but to the girls. He has said some really unspeakable things in the past, Katie's weight, or this person's a whore, or spitting on my door and cheating on people. And it's he's actually done the worst of the worst that the audience has ever seen. And the only reason that he's funny, quote unquote, this season is because those funny moments are when he's not under fire. It's because someone else was worse than him. But the second he was even, nudged a little bit, you poked that bear a tiny bit, like Schwartz did at the beach day. He was like, "Oh, is that bigger than?" And Schwartz was just making a dumb joke because that's what Schwartz does, right?
Yeah.
When the
Ha
way the
ha,
cookie
very
crumbles,
funny. Yeah,
and
yeah.
he lost his shit and threw a drink because that is who he is.
Well, because he's a child too. He's Arrested Development. There's a child, and that's why even with the Raquel crap, it's like it's not Raquel. It's like this Sandoval thing of like, I love you, are my brother. It's like this very childlike way of looking at trauma. And I don't mean that as we need to coddle him like Schwartz, but I do think it is
throwing
something
tantrums.
Yeah. Well, and also these men, their aversion to therapy is insane. Like Schwartz as well, of like, I don't need therapy. I got Schwartz and Sandy's. I'm like, therapy is good therapy, not Schwartz and Sandy's. And DJ James Kenny's like, I don't need therapy. I'm great. Look at me. I'm playing Imagine Festival. Look at me. No therapy. Yeah. But that's why, because I'll always remember Sandoval, but I'll for some reason completely total recall my memory and forget you guys were together. Like I forget. Like you too. Okay. Yeah. But also, guys, I'm not ignorant of the fact of what's going around, but I'm sure whatever that is will come up to play in later seasons or whenever that is. Where are you with Jax? Does he follow you yet again? Or are you still blocked?
I'm not sure if he follows me or not. I know my number is no longer blocked because we are on a group chat and I finally see his messages pop up. I did take his phone from him. Reunion 1, we all had a watch party at, I think it was Reunion 1 or was it the finale? I forget. Our friend Janet's house. And I immediately was like, hand me your phone. Give it to me right now. I'm unblocking myself. Put your passcode in, do all the stuff. If this happens again, I'm going to change your password and only Brittany will have it. Like, enough. Jax and I mean, when we were at Universal, we were great.
Well, because you and Brittany are like BFFs. You and Brittany are like so tight, which is so interesting. Like your relationship with Jax has been so wild, but like you've known him for so many years now. It's, and he is, a really great father. He has this great home life situation, but it's like still falls into this, you can anger. It's like the men were so soft.
Yes. Oh my God, he drives me absolutely fucking crazy. And then he's always like, "Oh, I mean, if I don't hear this twice a week, we're like brother and sister." I'm like, you don't treat your sister like this. I know your sister. You are a far bigger asshole to me than you are to anybody else. He's like, "Oh, it's without history." I'm like, can you be nice to me? Like, I'm so nice to you.
Okay, but I would love to see you guys potentially on a show together at some point again and to see that on screen. It would be truly, that might be weird for me to say. I don't know if that's ever been thought of, but who knows?
I think that would be a great idea.
But by the way, you got to promise me, Kristen, if this does ever, if you guys do, you can't pull punches. You can't play. Like, I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like, what sucks is that you're going to have to not be crazy Kristen, but you're going to, like, that doesn't scare you at all? Like putting yourself back out there like that?
No, because I don't have any skeletons.
Can't we just make one? We need one skeleton. We need to find one skeleton.
My closet is completely empty. The skeletons are gone. So like me standing up for myself, I don't have to worry about Jax coming for me or like, disclosing something that he shouldn't be or someone else. So I can still stand up for myself, for my friends, the way that I always do. And I don't have to worry about anything. That's the beauty.
You are linked, I mean, forever with Stassi. That is one, and people will always ask, when I told my Patreon you were coming in, that was like such a huge, oh my God, Stassi, oh my God, Stassi. And Stassi isn't been on the show for as long as you haven't been on the show. She's very successful podcasting, mother. We're both friends with Bo, her husband, and where are you guys? I mean,
I actually talked to her yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, so when I was at Katie's house, Katie was telling me that Stassi she's on her tour right now for a podcast and she has an LA date on Saturday. And I was like, oh, wait, should I go? That'd be kind of fun. So I text Stassi and she was like, oh my God, yeah, come. Let me know if you want to bring anybody. Like, and then we just kind of started messaging back and forth about some other things. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, would you ever, I mean, that's the other thing is people are like, oh, does everybody, if everybody comes back, does Stassi come back? Does everybody come back? I mean, the fans are kind of so curious in this point of time of what potentially could be the future. But at the same time, we're kind of just wondering like, oh, are you guys friendly? So it's really good to hear that you are.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't like hang out in the capacity that we used to. I'll always consider her family. We just have very different lives right now. Obviously, I mean, she has a child, she's married, she's pregnant again, she's touring right now. We just have different lives, but we've had conversations in the past where she's like, we're always gonna be friends. Like, I'm always gonna love you. It just might look differently. And I think that's just as we grow up.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on your show, and guys, once again, podcasts, go subscribe to hers right now. I'm going to put all that information in there, and make sure you leave her a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't even do it for her. Do it for Luke, man. He needs this. Luke needs this desperately. Like, no, it's really a great podcast, and I was so lucky to be on it. But I brought up last week, because I was bringing up that suck a dick moment and all these moments where I'm like, oh my God, that's so iconic. And you were like, no, that's not, I don't like that. I don't, you weren't saying that gruff, but you were kind of like these moments that the fans love that we like, listen, I've used that slap meme format 1,000 times. And now that I know you, I'm like, I don't even know if I can ever use that meme format again, because it feels wrong. But like you're part of these iconic moments that you potentially are not the best parts of your lives. That is so weird to reconcile. Is that so hard to reconcile for you, how much we adore these moments that weren't good for you?
I can try to understand it from some like being in someone else's shoes that like doesn't know me. It's just for me, I'm like, oh my God, that's like one of the most cringy eras of my life, of just being like drunk and messy and not in therapy and very, I mean, now that I look back, obviously I was going through a lot of shit and I was being cheated on and I was being gaslit, but I didn't have the tools to recognize how to react to those things.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh my God. But I guess with the cringe-worthy moments, that proves growth, right?
I mean, but by the way, if that moment happened today, you guys would have both been fired. Probably you both would have been out of there. Like, we have different rules in reality television right now. And then finally, of course, everybody wants to know, what about you and Peter? No, I'm joking. But what is it with Peter? How is he like, he's like still there.
Peter's
he's
hysterical.
He's the old constant. He's like just always there. He's actually even dated some of you, like in the very early beginnings. He's just always there.
Some of them.
Some of them, yeah. But like, what's Peter's deal? Like, he seems like just always there. He doesn't really get into trouble. I mean, he even had a minor Raquel storyline this season.
Yeah.
Like, he's just old faithful.
He really is old faithful, give or take 10 minutes. Peter he just cracks me up.
Okay.
I don't know. He's just my full comic relief. When he did my podcast and we had him over my apartment, I mean, he was here for hours. And right when he walked in, he was like, I have a present for you. And it was the I'm Not a Starter Pony t-shirt. And I'm like, just Peter, I fucking love you. And it was his head on, what is that called? A centaur? Like his head on like a horse's body.
I remember when Peter sold candles like years ago. And then I remember his like image for the candles. The candle label was a little bent on the label. Like Peter was always like, putting out like these kind of cool things, but then there'd be always something just a hair off with it. And I'd be like, oh, Peter, oh God.
Peter, I love you. But like, what are these Weight Watchers TikToks that he's doing? I'm like, okay, you got a brand deal for Weight Watchers. But like one of them was like him, like a la Chris Harrison during Bachelor Nation, like when they're having Bachelor viewing parties, where he pops up to people's doors and he's like, Chris Harrison here. Peter's like popping into these houses and going, I got a Weight Watchers plan for you. And I'm like, how I would feel if I were not on Weight Watchers and Peter Madrigal showed up at my door and was like, you should be on Weight Watchers. Like, let me help you.
Well, Kristen, even above that, what if they didn't even know Peter Madrigal? Like a strange man with a ponytail just hopped into my door and said, I need to go Weight Watchers. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then finally, the trifecta is you and Lisa Vanderpump. She's the head of the series. It's a show. You've always had kind of a dynamic relationship, to put it nicely. Like, where are you guys now? And did she ever say thank you for coming back for that scene in Sandoval?
I have not spoken to her. I think I've seen her one time at Tom Tom, and I just said hello because it's her restaurant, and I know that she gets upset if people don't acknowledge her. I said hello to she and Ken. That was it. And other than that, I haven't talked to her since 2020.
Did Ken come up to you and be like, Tom Sandoval was in a jacuzzi with Raquel and is very good? Yeah. So you haven't talked to her in 2020. And then finally, Sandoval. Will we talk to Sandoval again?
I mean, I have no desire, no hope, no dream of that. The only thing I did get a lot of people going like, why did you like this photo on his Instagram, which was with the passing of our friend Ollie, who was Tom's best friend. And I literally unblocked Tom. I text Tom during that time, but he didn't respond. That was fine. It was just like a human to another human that I wanted to reach out. A lot of us did. But other than that, no, I just think he's such a joke right now.
Which, by the way, that was the right move on Ollie. Like, that's what you do. Like, people don't realize that, like, Kristen knows Tom's family. Kristen knows these friends. These are her, like, this is part of her life, even away from reality cameras. So, like, that to me actually kind of comforted me. I was like, oh, see, like, like you guys are humans like anybody else, and you're reaching out to somebody based on a horrific event. But Raquel does not deserve that at all. So, Raquel's like persona non grata.
Yeah, I've never been friends with Raquel. With her like twice ever, But I would like to say, like, what I really want to get across here is that I would like Ken Todd, God bless your heart, to stop calling me thinking that I'm one of the Toms. I'm not. He sends me text messages, files, he calls me, he leaves me voicemails. I got a call like a week ago. And I mean, bless his heart, every time it's happened in the past for years now. For years, like since Tom Tom opened, and I'll text the boys, text both the Toms, and I'm like, Ken called me again. I think he's trying to get hold of you guys because I got a voicemail for Tom. I don't know how to make it stop, but I'm getting sent things that aren't really any of my business.
Tom, did you check out the numbers this week on Tom Tom? The numbers are very well. That's amazing. That's like that is okay. That's huge. That is okay. So Kristen, thank you so much for this. You truly are a legend in this, and I could have done this for hours and hours. Thank you these are painful questions, some of them, and thank you for doing this. I know it is so tiring because you are on the tail end of all of this, but I'm really excited for the future. I'm excited for your future. Yeah, BS. You're going to keep, but hopefully you'll come back on just to do a pop culture roundup with nothing to do with Vanderpump. But Kristen, it has been a delight to actually get to know you a little bit. And I also want to point out to people the last 2 years, you are somebody that seems like you have self-reflected, like you are actually somebody that is, I think very unlike Sandoval in that I don't think he will ever accept about any mistakes that he's ever made in his past. So it's actually refreshing to talk to somebody that is willing to go there and willing to actually reflect on their behavior. And I hope we get to see you more on your TV screens, but if not, we're going to support in her podcast. We're going to support with that book, which you can buy on Amazon. James May, I went to there, and you need to get a new line very soon because all the men's stuff I noticed were sold out when I went to buy something.
Yeah, so I sold everything out right now because we have a new about to happen. So
good.
I wanted to just kind of start fresh. I went back to I was talking about this yesterday with a friend, but I was saying I went back to the why I started it to begin with, and I want to go back to that why. So it's just going to be this whole new revamped website. I don't want to give it away, but it's coming very soon.
Okay, really good. And then Witches of WeHo Wine, they are working on their new thing. It is going to go to a good cause, a portion of the proceeds. So we'll put all that information in the show notes. But Kristen, what a pleasure. I hope I didn't screw your podcast up too much. Thank you for having me on. And
everyone
I hope I get
to mine. Everyone listen to this one. Listen to both of ours back to back.
And tell Luke I said hi.
And I will. And he'll be back this weekend. Can't stay away for too long.